All right, everybody, welcome to another installment of Outer Coincidence here. And this show where we are going to get into, some different topics of what may or may not be some coincidences in our current reality. Do not adjust your digital screens. So, joined here tonight by Mr. Kool-Aid Coincidence himself, Robbie. What's up, Robbie?
Man, if you drink the Kool-Aid, it's all a coincidence. Ready to go. Let's go.
All right, so
Wait a minute.
so tonight we were gonna talk about. We're trying to figure out how we could maybe start by talking and getting to kind of narrow down this idea of where this technocratic agenda comes from and looking at some of the science fiction writers of the past and how they were kind of tied into this overarching agenda of using technology to kind of social engineer society and things like that.
Right. It's the science fiction writers. I don't fault them in any way because they were bringing things out. And in fact, they were probably putting themselves in danger in a lot of ways by putting out these books. Because
yeah, I do think that authors in particular, I ran across a reference of a book called The Witness Tree, which is an accounting of the Israeli state and some of the things that the state of Israel has done. And it had to be set in a fiction in order to be published.
Right. I mean,
but
I see this over and over.
Yeah.
Anything that comes out as a disclosure gets shut down pretty quick. But if you come out with a fiction, they let it go. There's a reason for that, and we'll get into that later. But that's it's all about predictive programming and how they want us to view ourselves in the future.
Going back to our discussion last time with like everything, all is mind, and if you can control the mind, you can control reality, really. So
that is true, because if they take a young generation and they're able to program them with an ideology, they can control the mind of that generation and therefore control the reality of the next step. You gotta understand that the people we're talking about, they don't deal in 10-year time periods or 20 or 50. They deal in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of time scale. These are people who believe that they have a divine right to do what they're doing. And so they're going to extrapolate it over a number of years, hundreds most of the time.
And if you were to like come out and try to do a bunch of stuff all at once, then it would probably freak a lot of people out. I know they were able to do it during the era of COVID, and that seemed like a bad Twilight Zone episode to me. But
well, I mean, look,
they released that all at once.
I think COVID was
they did kind of prep us for it. Like there were there was a lot of fiction about like people like pandemics and things like that happening.
I fell into the fiction myself, to be honest with you. Because I was looking at different websites and different things, little did I know that those places were funded by the same people who had been doing the psychological op for the last 200 years. The thing is that like we were saying on the last episode, if you're in the left-right paradigm, you're missing the boat. You're doing what they want you to do, how you want to think. And so it's a divide and conquer type scenario, psychologically speaking. But that is what creates the reality that we live in. And if you have one side that you bombard with one information and another side you bombard with another information, you can create conflicts that shouldn't be there. And that's where I'm at right now. I don't think that we really, as Americans, deserve or should be thinking about these kind of conflicts because they're non-existent. By and large, from what I see going out into the public, is that 90% of the people just want to live their lives, just be people. They're not going to go out and blow up a CVS because the price of cigarettes went up 4 cents, or something like that. That's an old phrase, but it's, the point remains the same. And we see this kind of thing going on constantly. But yeah, I think that the science fiction writers gave us a way to look at it and actually gave us a roadmap. And furthermore, the people that laid it out, it's kind of like today where people can't figure out which direction to go. They go back and look at that and they use that as a roadmap. So now we've got a situation where these people created the people that created the science fiction for their own means. But we have a group of people now that is saying the science fiction is gospel and we have to fulfill it. And they push it in that direction.
Yeah, so I want to bring up a summary of one of the writers was H.G. Wells, and I asked Grok to give me a summary of one of his books, The Shape of Things to Come. So this book was published in 1933, a speculative science fiction novel presented as a historical account written in 2106 by a future scholar named Philip Raven. It outlines a vision of humanity's future from the 1930s onward, blending prophecy, social commentary, and Wells' ideas about progress and governance. The narrative begins with a depiction of a decline of civilization.
Stop for just a second. I want you to pay attention to the word governance. It's going to come up over and over and over. Keep going.
Okay. The narrative begins with a depiction of the decline of civilization following the 1930s, triggered by economic collapse and devastating global war that lasts for decades. This conflict, marked by advanced weaponry and societal breakdown, reduces much of the world to chaos and ruin. By the mid-20th century, a plague further decimates the population, leaving humanity in a fragmented, barbaric state. From this low point, a group of enlightened technocrats, primarily airmen who control the world's remaining transportation networks, emerges to restore order. They established a benevolent dictatorship known as the Air Dictatorship, using science and rational planning to rebuild society. Over time, I mean, this kind of puts
you're gonna hear science and national rationing or rationing. You'll hear that over and over and over between all of the authors.
Science and rational plan. Yeah, they're building this idea in your mind.
Yeah. Go ahead and frame your mind for this, folks, because this is what's coming.
The science and rationality and the experts are going to be able to best create the utopia that we're all desiring.
And this is direct now, where narration creates reality. Narration will create reality, but it's a slow burn. It takes a long time. You have to really drive it into the populace.
Mm-hmm.
And we're dealing with 30 or 40 years of that now. And that's where we are. We're at the precipice, as far as I'm concerned, we're right up there close to the edge of the cliff, and we're either gonna sprout wings and fly, or we're gonna fall down and deny we're falling the entire time.
Yeah. If we're not aware of these techniques, then we become victim toward whatever propaganda gets put our way. So over time,
and I'll tell you, it's becoming very, very hard to discern propaganda these days.
Right. Yeah. It's hard to tell. Some things are real. Like, I know this is a little bit off topic, but people are able to use these facial filters now. You can even get a filter that can make you look like a Down syndrome person. And this like really hot gym chick posted herself as like with a Down syndrome face. And there were people like making all kinds of comments on this chick about like you know, I'm a chromosexual now or
well, I'll tell you, man, I'll tell you what I've been seeing the last couple of weeks, specifically since we started what we're doing here. I've been seeing on my YouTube and my Facebook feed, I've been getting just every third or fourth thing that I see on the post is some AI generated tabloid thing. And you know what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm calling it out and canceling, do not show me this, because what that is an attempt to take rational people and apply things like that on their feed so that later they can say, look at this stupidity. This person believes this. I've been seeing that over and over. I bet I've canceled 40 in the last 3 days, and they're all AI generated. They're bot produced, and they're daggum pushing out to specific people. And
yeah, you go check the profiles on some of the accounts.
Oh yeah, it's non-existent. You know, there's not there.
They're like
one friend.
Yeah, one follower or something.
One
like
follower,
that.
One friend, started 3 days ago.
Now, there could be some legitimate people that maybe they just created an account and maybe they're just on there from time to time, kind of lurking and looking at stuff, which does happen. But
well, yeah,
there are a lot that are just like, this is probably a bot account.
Well, what's happening is you have legitimate people pushing or reposting the bot. And so when that happens, it gives you the false impression that something's real when it's not. So what I started doing is I started going back to the source link and looking it up, and it's either non-existent, you get an error 404, or you'll get something that'll lead to an error 404. There's no contact, there's no person involved, there's no nothing. And so I just got to where I can recognize it now because I see the same images over and over and over. They'll put an image up of a person that's supposed to be real, but it's AI. And you could tell immediately that's AI, or I can anyway. And I click report and block, and just get rid of it. And over the last, 12 hours or so, it started diminishing. But now I'm getting it from the flip side of the coin. They're trying to hit me from the other side, which means, to me anyway, that the information infrastructure is hitting both sides of the coin. They're playing the left, they're playing the right, they're doing this, and it's on purpose to create a divide and conquer strategy for the planners, the people who want to do what we're talking about here. So let's further our exploration in here and talk about these science fiction guys because they lay it out for us.
Yeah. So this one specifically was mentioned in an episode of Grand Theft World. H.G. Wells is this book specifically A Shape of Things to Come, and his layout of what he talks about in this sci-fi is some of the plans that are involved with like the Cecil Rhodes Anglo-American establishment guys that wanted to bring America back into the fold of the British Empire and to have their idea of their, technocratic state, kind of a one world system.
Yeah.
Using America as like the strong man to make it all work. So
Right, while at the same time excluding themselves from culpability.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead, man. Throw it out there.
Okay,
Preach to us, brother.
So what? Yeah, that's right.
Preach to us, brother. Come on.
Papa don't preach. All right. So over time, this evolves into a utopian world state where national boundaries, religions, and outdated traditions are abolished in favor of a unified, scientifically managed global civilization. Education, technology, and human welfare advanced dramatically, culminating in a peaceful, prosperous world by the early 22nd century.
All right, that should raise some red flags. And when you dive further, you'll find out that probably 70 to 80% of the conflicts over the last century have been provoked by those same people who were just putting out that documentation that you just cited.
Yeah.
They funded both sides, and they fomented the wars, and they funded them.
Right. And yeah, I mean, so Cecil Rhodes, he was a guy that the De Beers Diamond Company.
Right. Yeah.
That was a whole mind control scheme as well, because diamonds, like, I think there was a documentary made about that and how diamonds are essentially worthless because there's such an abundance of diamonds, but there is an artificial scarcity held on them by these big diamond miners like De Beers, and the whole campaign of like diamonds are forever, and like
that was De Beers in 1933, 4, somewhere around there, that put out the campaign. Yeah.
You don't love your wife if you don't buy her the diamond.
Exactly.
It's got to be from the De Beers company specifically.
Ironically, their profits went up about 4,000% over a 6-month period. It was weird. I don't understand why.
So another example of how you can use the control of people's perceptions. So if people are perceiving this thing as like rare and unique and a very highly prized, that you can charge a gobs of money for it, but all the while it's like very common. You can even create diamonds artificially.
I always found it funny, I create structures and do renderings off of that for my funding, my livelihood.
Yeah.
And I find it very strange that I continuously see big billboards or big commercial project, this, that, and other, where they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Somehow they can't afford a $2,500 guy to give them a rendering. They'll hire somebody that they'll pay 20 times that. They'll pay them $30,000 or $40,000 to present something that's a fraction of the quality of what I can produce. They won't even talk to me. So it's one of those things where it's a boys' club, where you group in a certain thing, you got this, that, and the other, and you got your connectivity. It doesn't matter, and this goes back to the kind of the Doge thing. Doesn't matter if you can do it more efficiently or better and a better quality. All that matters is how much money is flowing out of the government coffers over to this entity. And I bring that up because we see that over and over and over with the things that shape our society. We see companies that are continuously putting this stuff out that are receiving huge sums of money from quote unquote unknown sources to provide the information. And at this point, I'll have to go back to the 78, 79-ish area where William Casey said, we'll know our operation's complete when everyone in America, believes an impossibility or doesn't, well, what they believe is not real. It was the gist of it. And I butchered that interpretation. I'm sorry, but I mean, I'm just throwing off the top of my head.
Well, yeah, I remember hearing that, but I'm not sure who specifically said that.
That's William Casey. Pull it up. I mean, I think it's 78. William Casey, CIA director, says we'll know our operation is complete when the American public believes everything is a lie, or believes a lie is everything. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm running off of stuff. I got 8 million things going on in my brain, so
yeah,
I'm sure it's wrong somewhere.
Delete quote. Okay. Yeah, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false.
So this plays right into what we're talking about, because if you go back 100 years plus, you can start tracking the money that comes out of these organizations into the educational institutes. They start, basically the school becomes beholden to the person supplying the grant. So let's say you've got Harvard and you want to permit or promote a particular idealism. You provide the bulk of their monetary support, and then when they say, wait a minute, that's not right, you say, do you want the support or not? And they go along with it. And so you wind up with professors that are being told, you will say this, you'll say this, you'll say that, you'll say this. Now, that I ran across this in the science field.
Yeah.
But it also applies in the sociology field.
Yes. Just the study of human interaction, like things like the Milgram experiments, where they had somebody face across with somebody, and they had a guy in a lab coat say to administer electric shock to what was an actor on the other side of the window that was pretending to get shocked every time they would push the button, and it would seem like he would start to feel more and more pain. He or she, whoever the actor was, starting to feel more and more pain.
Real experiment was the guy pushing the button.
Correct. It was to see if somebody would, and overwhelmingly, a majority of the people would,
if directed with a cause,
directed
would push the button.
an authority figure,
Yeah.
Somebody they
Well, not
perceived
just an
as
authority figure, but they had a cause. They had a reason.
yeah, they would override
And
their own internal
yeah,
moralities and
right.
morals, like knowing that this was causing pain to someone, and go ahead and administer the shock
But
to
there's
a
a
person.
third aspect to that, number three. And the third aspect is that during the psychological conditioning, you have to dehumanize the subject.
Yeah,
You
that
have
that,
to,
that kind of goes to the
right,
the prison experiments they did at
right.
Stanford. The
Mm-hmm.
Stanford prison experiments, like they had one section of the participants be the prisoners, and then one as the guards, and then they noticed that like they would start to treat the prisoners really poorly as the guards, and
We've barely touched on the science fiction. We just went where they got their influence from.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so let's go
I
in
was
that
gonna
direction. Let's talk about whichever one you want to talk about, H.G. Wells or whoever. Yeah.
I want to go to Aldous Huxley as the other person that he was. So we have Aldous Huxley, Aldous and Julian Huxley. So
All right.
pull that up here. Um, so Julian and Aldous Huxley were brothers, both born into prominent intellectual family. Julian, the older brother, was a biologist and publicist, while Aldous became a renowned writer and philosopher. They were the sons of Leonard Huxley, a writer and schoolmaster, and Julia Arnold, who founded Pryor's
Keep
Field
talking. I gotta
School.
get the restroom.
All right. Their grandfather was Thomas Henry Huxley, a notable zoologist and agnostic, often referred to as Darwin's bulldog. So, yes, this guy, Thomas Henry Huxley, tied into Charles Darwin, and that's kind of a setup for the whole eugenics thing, because Darwin's original book about um, was originally titled "The Origin of the Favored Races," and so they were all about eugenics, or the idea of eugenics to like selectively breed people and create the traits and characteristics that you want over time, and get rid of all the common, get rid of as many of the common people as possible. I believe that they referred to the Irish in that book as like subhuman.
Okay. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just going into Charles Darwin's connection to the Huxleys family through their grandfather,
Yeah.
Thomas Henry Huxley, and they were all about eugenics, like the original.
Yeah, that's the one common thread that I found with all of them. They were all eugenicists.
Yeah, because he talked about on the origins of species. The original title was the preservation of the favored races in the struggle for life. And
That's not problematic at all.
that's not even a coincidence there.
It's not even a coincidence. I mean, why would you even sniff the turd on that? I don't get it. If there's a turd in a punch bowl, why sniff it? Right?
Yeah.
They can't help themselves. They sniff the turd all the time. Keep going. I say this is, yeah, I know it's a Kool-Aid coincidence, but I'm in. Let's do it.
So yeah, and in no coincidence here that Aldous Huxley's, one of his fictions is A Brave New World, where he describes a world, like kind of the opening scene of that book is like all these humans being born in incubators, and
Huh.
you are no longer naturally birthed, but you
Makes you
are.
wonder where they got the Matrix from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Again, another coincidence.
it just both Julian and Aldous contributed significantly to their respective fields, with Julian making notable contributions to the field of biology, Aldous being known for his influential novels such as Brave New World, philosophical works like The Doors of Perception. Um,
Damn it, man. Is that not what we've been talking about?
mm,
The
mm-hmm,
doors of perception.
mm-hmm.
Because, well, go ahead. We're going to get to it eventually. But the reality is that quantum physics is tied in to our perception.
That's
And,
what I was about to talk
yeah,
about earlier, was
yeah.
how when you start to look into a lot of this stuff, you start and some of the some of the science guys that I followed, like specifically Nassim Haramein, have
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about this idea that we are co-creating reality by our, what we're envisioning and the actions that we're taking in in time.
I
Collectively,
believe
we're
that.
we're co-creating the reality.
And you know what? It gives us a huge responsibility because are we going to fall down the rabbit hole? Not the rabbit hole, but down the pit that these people want us to go on. Their managed perception and create that reality. Or are we going to create our own reality
Yeah,
and it does not involve them tampering anyway? It might involve them in some way, but not tampering to the degree that they are. Uh, you know,
yeah, yeah,
this goes back all the way back to what we was talking about 3 episodes ago about alchemy,
yeah,
because in the studies of alchemy that I came across, it was the same concept. You can lay it out any way you want to. You can call it mysticism or whatever, but if we now know that quantum physics is involved in creating reality and that our perception of our environment is creating the reality around us, then it makes sense to think that maybe those guys knew it way back then and they carried the science forward in a form of mysticism. Um,
oh yeah. I
you
mean,
know, wasn't it Arthur C. Clarke that said, any technology that uh, is beyond our comprehension is basically magic? I know I butchered that thing, but that was the gist of the quote. Um,
hmm yeah. I just recently learned about this book. It's called Chaos: Charles Manson and the CIA, and uh, the secret history of the CIA, MK Ultra in the 1960s.
Dude, if you don't think the CIA is aware of what we're talking about, you're deluding yourself.
Right. So some of
Yeah,
these techniques, like
yeah.
what Julian Huxley, or sorry, Aldous Huxley wrote about in like
Now,
the
wasn't Julian and Aldous, wasn't they brothers or cousins?
yeah, they're brothers.
Brothers, that's what I thought. Okay. All right, go
They
ahead, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
so yeah, Aldous Huxley, along with the Brave New World, wrote this book, The Doors of Perception, where it elaborates on his psychedelic experience under the influence of mescaline in May of 1953. Recalls the insights of experience ranging from purely aesthetic to sacramental vision, and reflects on their philosophical, psychological implications. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like the chaos thing with the CIA and MK Ultra, where they were using some hallucinogenic substances to maybe influence people's minds a little bit to kind of play with the idea of like being able to kind of program people and get them to do some things that they may not have normally done.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it in my short existence that I've got here on this earth. I've seen things that shouldn't be, and things that you would think would go a different direction that don't. And when you start looking into these subjects we're talking about, it starts to make more sense. But I've seen it. So, in my own opinion, anyway, and I stress it is my opinion, that everything that I've seen leads me down this road where you can absolutely create a reality if you have hundreds of years, or and these days it don't take hundreds of years because we got social media. You could take a couple of years maybe and craft a narrative that creates a reality that we live in. And all you have to do is look at, like you said, the 2020, 2021 era and say, what happened there? Because those things were, as coming to light and we suspected the entire time, are mostly crafted. They're mostly things that came out after the fact that turned out to be not the way we thought they were. Uh, the difference now being is that when you introduce AI into the mix and the transhumanism, are we going to get over the hump? Are we going to be able to get society over the idea that they're being manipulated in this way? Because
Well,
most people don't get it. They look at it and say, "Boy, what a great thing!" And then when you bring it up, it's like it's coincidence. And so, hence my title, Kool-Aid Coincidence, because people are drinking the Kool-Aid and they get to a certain point and they realize that the Kool-Aid is poison. But it takes a long time for them to get there. And we got to deal with it in the interim.
yeah, that's why I wanted to do something that we're kind of bringing a comedic light to all this because I think there's a.
I think you're right. And I'm sorry, man, because I always drag us back down to that level. And maybe that's, yeah, no, it's not maybe. It is my fault. I do that. Even though
Well,
I'm the one that preaches about black pill, but I'm the one that gives it. Uh, so I don't know what to say about that.
well, what we got really, it's about like kind of so we understand that we're creating the reality or like kind of co-creating it. Then we basically kind of have to offer it. We have to offer it a different option for people, and I think
Yeah,
that
there's
other
actually,
that other option is to you have to be the change yourself. Like you have to actually take some
yeah,
action.
you're right, right,
You
right.
have
Yeah.
to take action in your life, and you
That's
have to
exactly right.
get it in as good a shape as you can by becoming self-reliant and figuring out skills that you need to actually live on this planet.
Body
Have
mind.
a way to exist on the planet, and if you don't know how to grow some food or build a structure or collect water or go hunt or fish or things like that, those are like skills on how you can survive on this planet. and not just to survive, but thrive and figure out how you can do some kind of business on your own and things like that. And opt out, like whatever somebody has power over you with, like you want to minimize that person's power over you, so you don't have to do something against your own autonomy.
Right. As a small business owner, just don't take the big corporate contracts.
Yeah.
Look at them with a scrutinizing eye, because there's usually something in the paperwork that will tie you down. And
the terms and conditions, yeah.
Terms and conditions, exactly. And so just scrutinize it a little bit. You'll be surprised when you start doing just that, how they're getting over on you. And I'm talking directly to small business owners, because the average person is an employee working at a business, and they probably don't know what I'm talking about. But as a small business owner, yeah, take a scrutinizing look. If you have any way to keep it local, you'll be money ahead, because these systems that have been put out over a national level will do everything they can to squash you as an individual. I mean, I'm not lying. I've seen it firsthand, you know.
I wasn't laughing at that. I was laughing at this going back to this AI filter thing or whatever with the downs. The chick that was like in her workout gear and had the Down syndrome filter on her face. I just found it. So yeah, some people were like saying, is this real? Like, what is this person like a really have
Angelina slowly?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
So I mean, she's using a filter to make her face look like she has Down syndrome, but she's really like a hot chick.
I know. I got to where I am deleting and blocking all these kind of channels, because you know, they're using something to deceive us, whether willingly or unwillingly. And
but this video went viral, but like it was somebody had made like taken all the comments and made this little like music to it, and I'll play it real quick.
Play it, go for it, man.
It's pretty funny.
No matter the baker, I reach for a 7 out of 46. Hola, como estas? Down syndrome. I didn't know they started making them like this. What's the OR? She might be down, but something is definitely a scarlet slow Hepsin and half away. I bet she is down the fuck. At least the commentators able from the higher than so much special in my life. I'm just one totally the cold mass.
Are you DTF?
This is the rated R material I've been waiting for my whole life.
Beavis, I think she's probably down to DTF.
Yeah, so
really? Really? You really think she's down for DTF?
She's downs to DTF.
Oh God.
So yeah, man, it was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing all this crazy stuff. You know, you're throwing this up here, and it's fine for satire and this and other. I saw one this morning. It was funny. They had a picture up there. I mean, it just kept repeating over and over and over until I clicked on it on Facebook, and it was bears block entrance to Yellowstone, right? And it was a picture that had like thousands of bears on the road going into up to a mountain. I was like, well, no possible way. So I went and did a search, and I looked at it. No, it wasn't that. There's still ice and snow on the road, that particular road. So somebody took a image of that road, and they used Photoshop and AI, and they created a scenario where they had thousands of bears sitting on this road, like blockading people that were Trump supporters. And so I was like, Jesus Christ, man, come on.
Yeah.
What the F, And I went and I blocked it and reported it and did the whole 9 yards, But I've seen that about 20 or 30 times now. Not that particular one, but the same sort of scenario. One of them was Elon has a secret military airplane that can go to Mars in one day, and he's keeping it from everybody, And I was like, gee, what the, You go look at it, nothing. It's nothing burger. And what you have happening is you have these people that are recycling the links. So somebody will put out a link, and then they'll recycle it over and over and over. But when you follow the link, it's a nothing burger. So it's amazing to me.
Well, I mean,
I'm
dude,
really
like my parents are the boomer generation or whatever, and but I was letting them be aware of some of the more common scams that are out there through the internet, and like now that you can basically voice fingerprint someone with some kind of AI, and they could make a phone call and it could sound like your son or your daughter, and they're in some kind of trouble or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're asking,
I've seen a couple of cases like that.
They're asking for money, right? And so it'll sound like you.
Exactly.
So you just have to be aware. You have to be aware of some of that stuff so that you don't fall trap to it, And it's also, if you don't know how to use a computer and some Indian scammer pops up and gets you to remote into your computer and then open your online banking account and then say that, oops, you ran, like, we were trying to transfer money for a virus scan and we got you now.
Just click the link, sir.
We're going to need to go get us some Google Play gift cards. Like, that was a scam that was actually pulled on my grandfather. Like, they called me, like I guess the neighbor was taking him to go get some like gift cards or whatever, and I was like, dude, that's a scam. Stop him,
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
the neighbors, the neighbor's going to show up to give you a gift card.
Well, they were taking him to go to get gift cards, and I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. This is
he might have said like I'm going to be in trouble or something if I don't do this or something. I don't know. Like,
well, I've had man, it started back. I think the first one that I got was in '93. I got a phone call from a woman that said that if I don't vaccinate my children in school, then the sheriff's going to show up and arrest me.
We'll bring it on.
That's what I said. I said, well, okay, tell them to come on. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Well, it started out, she's like, sir, we noticed you didn't sign the report that we sent out to all parents and blah, 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 and this and other. I said, no, and I'm not going to sign it. And that's when she started in with this thing. Well, if you're not going to vaccinate your children, we're going to have to come arrest you. And I said, well, go ahead. I'll be waiting right here.
Yeah.
And I didn't say it. I just made the sound, and nothing.
Yeah.
I called the sheriff's department. I said, hey, I just got a call from some people that told me that if I didn't show up over here, that I was going to be arrested and this and other. And they said, we don't know what you're talking about. They just, no, not us.
Well, also during the COVID thing, everybody was so scared about not wearing a mask out in public, but there was a governor's mandate. Now, the last time I checked, like, we don't live under kings and queens anymore that can go out and dictate like mandates all of a sudden. And by decree, I make this mandate and thou shalt make it so. Like, you don't.
What's a double-edged sword? I mean, if you're going to use that same argument to disband the mandate, it makes it problematic. But
Well,
We have
my comeback was like, about the only people that can tell me some stuff is like maybe my parents, and I don't even really listen to them most of the time. So.
my parents are not a good gauge for me. I have to go up there and constantly do stuff, and they're like, "What, really?" And they really hadn't. It's been about 20 years now. When I first started all this, it was like, "Here you go, son. Have a lollipop," whatever. But over the last 20 years, it's got to where now it's so obvious. It can't be denied.
Oh yeah, Robbie, did you need to hand over your camera? That's getting
yes, it's 8:22. I hadn't seen her come up here yet, but I tell you what, man, let me just circumvent this. I'm going to turn the camera off and leave the stream running. You pull up another function about what we're talking about.
All
Go
right.
over that, and I'll be right back. Give me 5 or 10 minutes. I'll be right back. So I won't have the camera, but I will have the audio.
All right. Let's. I know I said if we get into Zbigniew Brzezinski, that might be getting a little too far into it, but.
Well, I mean, if you want to go that route, but it's gonna kind of get us off of the old into the new. So.
Yeah. What else? What else did I have for this right now? So let's get into H.G. Wells connection a little bit more in Cecil Rhodes. So I have that pulled up here. Let's get into that. All right. So Cecil Rhodes, H.G. Wells were both influential figures in the late 19th and early 20th century. British society and their paths intersected in various ways, particularly in their shared interests in imperialism and the future of the British Empire. The relationship and the context in which they operate are often discussed in the context of British imperialism and the intellectual and political movements of the time. Some sources suggest that Wells and Rhodes, along with other figures like Halford Mackinder and the Cecil family, were part of a broader network that influenced British imperial policy and strategic thinking. One notable point of intersection is the idea of a League of Nations, which was discussed in a document co-authored by H.G. Wells and members of the Rhodes-Milner Group, including Lionel Curtis and Alfred Zimmerman. This document, the idea of a League of Nations, reflects the shared vision of a more unified and powerful British Empire. However, their approaches and ultimate goals differed. Rhodes was primarily focused on the expansion and consolidation of British territories in Africa, while Wells was more concerned with the broader social and political implications of imperialism and the future of global governance. Despite these differences, both figures played significant roles in shaping the intellectual and political landscape of their time, contributing to the complex and often controversial legacy of British imperialism. And, the book that goes into a lot of the, how influential Cecil Rhodes was to this whole world that we're living in right now is a book called Tragedy and Hope. written by Carol Quigley. So I got the book a little while ago, and I have I've listened to the audiobook, like the 101 audiobook that was done by Joseph Plummer, I believe was the guy that did the audiobook of Tragedy and Hope 101. And he does a pretty good synopsis, but talks about how they kind of created these different circles of influence. And H.G. Wells is kind of tied into all that. And the broader idea of being the British Empire, bringing America into the fold to be able to create this kind of one world system of kind of a technocratic control system.
It's amazing that stuff
really
is still prevalent.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the system play out today. Like, I was recently watching a documentary or a series by Candace Owens that she's speculating. She was speculating that Brigitte Macron, Emmanuel Macron's wife, the French president, his wife Brigitte is a transsexual, and they were using a Chinese facial recognition software to look at the photos of a kid in Brigitte's family, the Trognos, that was not mentioned in like her autobiography called let's see, Jean-Michel Trognos. And when they did the facial recognition match of Brigitte and the Jean-Michel Trognos, the younger kid that was shown in the family portrait, that it came up as like a positive, like a high probability match. And so yeah, some of this technology, especially with the facial recognition stuff, is like she made a pretty compelling case that Brigitte Macron was born as a male and is most likely this Jean-Michel Trognos.
Well, I believe that. As a matter of fact, I heard something about that here a while back, but I didn't follow it through like you did. And yeah, it doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility.
I almost wonder if they did that with Epstein, man. Like, this is complete conjecture. But
well, don't you know?
I was wondering if like they trans Jeffrey Epstein, and he's like hanging out somewhere and assumed a new identity and got facial, cosmetic surgery, and now he's like a woman living somewhere.
Well, maybe. My real concern is that they will use AI to repurpose quote unquote classified documents. If you take a scenario where you have a defense agency or a particular group of people that are overseeing particular documents, they can train the AI to say whatever the hell they want to say. So you can throw something into an AI and think it's absolute reality. It might not be. So we just have to, I guess, go down that road to figure out what the hell. because
Well, I mean, in some hands, so like I have a buddy that's been using the Chat GPT.
man, I use AI all the time,
Yeah,
but I'm starting to see cracks in the system. And the more you use it, the more you see the cracks in the system, the more you should be wary of it and not the other way around, not turn it over to it. In other words, if you're going to have an AI system that's self-propagating and self-replicating and confirms its own code, then you have nothing except for the person that programmed the AI.
right. Yeah, he was talking about how it's pretty PC. Like you can't be like asking it to say anything about different races or whatever when you talk to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And
well, that just shows you the programming. I mean,
yeah.
It just shows you that the AI is biased upon the programming.
Yeah.
So it's not neutral. And anybody that thinks that AI is neutral, they're living in the bubble. You know, they're living in the bubble that has been created by the people that want you to be in the bubble.
I always make the joke that it's not really a computer; it's a bunch of Indians over in India that are like rapidly typing to make a response for you or something.
Well, I mean,
there was that one Amazon where there were Amazon like you could just walk out with the items and it would just charge your Amazon account or whatever, and they touted it as this is all going to be controlled by artificial intelligence and it'll look at all your items and make the calculation for you and then bill it to you. But like they couldn't get that figured out, and they hired a lot of people in India to they were like counting your items, like watching.
Yeah. So get this, the thing that you just said.
Yeah.
Go back and look up Nick Begich, maybe 20 years ago, 15. He was talking about that very thing. And he was railing against.
How do you spell that name?
Well, Nick Begich, BHAG something. It's some weird name, Begich. I can't remember the exact spelling. He was a senator. He was a senator from Alaska. And his father was a senator from Alaska who said something out. He spoke out against the thing going on in Oklahoma bombing with Clinton, and his plane went down mysteriously.
Oh.
It's really weird.
Weird. There was a video of him talking about something.
He's one that he wrote a book called Angels Don't Play This Harp.
Angels Don't Play This Harp.
Yeah. HAARP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I haven't heard of that one.
Did you find it?
Yeah. Advances in Tesla technology, which discusses high-frequency active auroral research program, HARP, and its potential uses and impacts.
Now, I know we're going back into the technology here, but it does tie back into the coincidence theory that we've been talking about this whole time.
Yeah, this is a new one on me. I haven't heard of this.
I can't believe you. I thought I told you about this. I guess not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've known about this since about 2010. So
I'm familiar the HARP program, but
Yeah.
I didn't know about this guy's book here.
So go start listening to his podcast and things, and you'll get an eye opener.
Yeah. 1996.
Okay, that's about right. That's about when I was taking my daughter around doing band and stuff because she was doing her band. We was traveling all over the state. I was listening to this while I was waiting on her.
Oh, wow.
So,
Oh, so what's this guy's background? He's tied into the military in some way?
his father was a U.S. senator that was tied in to the military-industrial complex, and something happened, and he wanted to spill the beans, and his father's plane went down inexplicably, along with two other senators, and so he ran for office and got it on his dad's name, and he already knew the inside baseball. So he started asking questions, this, that, and other, and they forced him out. Basically, is what happened.
Wow. Yeah, so back in the 90s, you must have, did you come across this through like a radio program or like
Well, yes, I did come across with a radio program, and there was another couple of other programs that I came across it with, but it was that, and there was a couple of others, and the one I wanted to mention to you, I can't bring to my brain for some reason, but the point is that these guys have known about this kind of stuff for a long time, and they're burying that in order to play up on the social economic side of things. They could, if they wanted to, the people that have all the money and all the influence could resolve 90%, 80% of the problems that they present. But they won't do it because doing so will destroy their economic dynamic. It'll make them less of an economic powerhouse, which lowers their power.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently heard that what Trump was doing some strikes on Yemen because Yemen was standing up for the people of Gaza and they didn't want shipping to go through the area of, I guess, the Red Sea?
Well, I can't speak to the Gaza thing, but I can say that Yemenis groups have been inhibiting or putting a quote-unquote tax on shipments through the area for about 10 years now. So you can say what you want, you can think what you want, but that's the reality of the situation. If you're going to go through that Strait of Hormuz, you're going to pay a percentage or they're going to send a missile.
You know what I did think about, because it's always like with like the USS Liberty and the Gulf of Tonkin thing or whatever, like it's always somebody's boat that's like they conveniently place and somebody attacks us. It's like begging for somebody to come out and something happens, right? Like just magically, coincidentally, something happens, and we just got attacked. It looks like we need to go to war again. Oops.
Look at my name.
Yeah,
coincidence.
Yeah, it's like
because
oopsie, we left our ship out there. So
oh my gosh!
Too bad you attacked us. Looks like we got to go to war.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got to where I don't buy none of that crap no more, you know.
It's always, it's the same story. It's like a false
Same
flag.
story. It's over and over and over. It's just a different venue, basically. It's the same story, different venue. And if you follow the pattern, it really looks almost identical. Anyway, we
All
got.
right, I think we might close it down on this, unless you got any kind of other points that you want to bring up right now.
Well, not really, other than you know, Isaac Asimov that talked about the robots.
Oh yeah, I forgot
You know,
about Asimov.
And you know, he was part of the progressive movement. He actually had some of those things, but the thing about it is this guy wrote some really compelling stuff. I saw it. My first introduction to the man was I rented a video, and it was a cartoon thing where people from the future were coming to the past to kidnap people in order to maintain this giant electronic brain.
Huh.
And so that's where my tie-in comes in.
Yeah.
Because what they were doing is they were using a plasma-based portal to go back in time. They would grab people, they'd grab those people, and they'd bring them back, and they would feed them to the machine, and the machine would eat their brain, right?
Oh wow.
Yeah. The machine had ate up the entire population of the world in the future, and it didn't have any other option but to go backwards in time and start grabbing humanity.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty compelling story, and that was my introduction to all this stuff, because I was thinking, the fuck is this guy talking about? There's no way this can happen. And when I got into quantum physics, I thought, well, maybe. And now we're seeing this thing going on with silicon intelligence. It's not quite the same thing, but the result is the same. Humanity goes away.
Yeah, I think H.G. Wells also in A Time Machine talked about humanity kind of splitting into two different factions. Like one was
He had the one that like lived off the land, the other one that was like super predatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
Well,
remember.
I mean, that's kind of where we are now in our society. We have a super high group of people who have all the money and the influence, who are super predatory.
All the silicone.
What they would like to do is extract all the wealth they can possibly get out of the lower echelon before they make their move. So we're kind of 2 steps ahead, but 1 step behind. And if we're not careful in the next 5 to 7 years, I think we're going to hand over our entire existence to an AI that dominates everything that we do.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's not a lot of people talking about like the different safeguards and stuff on AI. So that would be, I mean, it seems like these guys are just going full bore on developing this stuff, but we have like Elon on one hand, and we have this Sam Altman guy doing the Chat GPT
It does make you
thing.
question their
Chinese have their
ulterior
own-
motives.
Right.
I mean, it makes me question it anyway. It makes me question, what are they thinking?
Well, for large language models, which is what most of these artificial intelligence things are, is large language models. They need a lot of data to be able to plug into their models to refine them. So some folks that I listen to speculate that that was one of the big reasons why, not just for free speech reasons that Elon Musk wanted to get his hands on Twitter, but in order to refine his own artificial intelligence large language model.
Oh, I'm sure that was the case. When I looked into it back 2 years ago, that was his primary motive. He didn't buy the company for Twitter. He bought the company for its servers.
Yeah, because you got all that data to
Right.
people's thoughts, instantaneous thoughts to come out, and you can train your AI models to get a better, basically win the race. Win the race. It's basically kind of going to be like who can get the best data set.
We're in a Cold War nuclear race with AI right now is what's going on. It's who can produce the most efficient AI the fastest. The problem is that the AI is going to go to war with itself. We're going to wind up in a situation 10 years from now where the AI is battling itself for supremacy, and we have no idea what reality is. We already know what that is like because we've been discussing it tonight. We don't know what reality is. But 10 years from now, imagine.
Dude, I was thinking about this the other day, is that, I grew up without the internet for the most part, and now that a lot of people are online a lot, like we're basically living through these screens. And now that you have artificial intelligence in the game, you have like this, whole nother perception augmentation.
Stop. You just named yourself on the thing. Screen reality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It should be my title.
Yeah.
Handle. Yeah, because I mean, I was just thinking about it, like you had to just like interact with other people to figure out stuff that was going on, but now you would probably have your little AI companion or something.
Well, the problem is you don't know if it's people or AI.
Well, there already are the AI companions.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
My buddy is using
your reality is based
as
off of your interaction,
his personal assistant.
So you have to be able to discern whether it's AI or real people. Otherwise, you're going to be in that bubble, and you're going to go live that bubble. You're going to do whatever the bubble says.
And I post to social media a lot, and I'm doing these fitness videos, right? And I'm putting those fitness videos out to like hopefully inspire some people to like start on their fitness as well. And every now and then I will get like comments coming from like those just one follower things that are like negative comments, and I'm like looking at it and like I feel it like kind of affecting me. And
well, the negative comments, it's fine, but if you interact and they don't respond or something's going on, and I've got to where I target those people.
Yeah,
I don't even mess with the people that give me positive stuff. I say, hey, thanks.
right.
But somebody gives me a negative, man, I start hitting them like a fucking hammer. And you'll find out that, at least with my experience, about 90% of the time it's all fake.
Yeah.
It's all something that was generated off a bot or something. Because I'll hit them with it, and then they'll immediately call me, and I'll hit the button.
But I mean,
speaker.
I have heard of younger people like and if they're on social media a lot, and then they have like a lot of these like negative comments coming towards them, like you just gotta stay away from social media, I think, when you're a younger person, because that's not reality, and it's probably a bunch of fake people. Like
that's right. Yeah,
I
think the majority of it's fake, and that's where we're getting into this technocracy.
Yeah,
because we're getting to a situation where we're having a data feed that's not us.
Yeah,
it's somebody else. It's you might have 2 or 3 people pretending to be 5 million.
Right.
And that's not democracy. And if you think that's democracy, then you just swallowed the turd in the punch bowl in order to get there, because there's nobody and anybody, any kind of reasonable expectation that I can think of, at least 92, 94% of the people, where they don't expect that kind of thing. There's a percentage, don't get me wrong. There's a 6 or 8% that will absolutely try to say it's real, that flat earthers. But the problem is that our modern media wants to promote that small percentage as the majority.
Yep. I almost want to just like it's so hard to separate yourself from the technology. But that's kind of one of the reasons we want to build that property that I'm working on to kind of in some way be a little bit of a tech retreat as well. Just to like unplug from it and touch some grass for a little bit. For
you gonna touch some grass?
They're dang gonna touch some grass.
Yeah, you gonna do you touching grass?
Get off the screen. Just open the screens of perception, boy.
If you want to do something other than what we say, you need to touch grass.
Damn, touch some grass.
Damn it.
Damn, touch some grass, son. All right, man. I am gonna need to get off of here to get some sleep.
Late, ain't it?
I'm on a little bit of a sleep deficit.
I've got you hung up too long.
But Robbie, closing remarks and anything that you want to promote or where people can find you.
Well, I'm still doing the 3D CAD builder site, so if you want to contact me that way, it's fine. I haven't got into full-blown what we're talking about here and setting something up, so that's the only way to really get a hold of me.
What is that website? 3dcadbuilder.com?
It's the number 3 D and then cadbuilder.com, and there's a link up page or a contact. I've been doing this kind of visualization for years. It's how I make my money. And so if you want to contact me, that's fine.
All right.
I try to honestly, I've been trying to stay away from this kind of stuff. My wife, my kids have been saying, "What are you doing? You shouldn't be talking about this again." But I've had some issues in the past with this. I can tell you firsthand from dealing with it that there's something to it. It's
Well-
not. It's not a thing where if you go to YouTube and you see some people talking about things and this and other, if you don't see problems, well, let me just say that I've been interrupted multiple times, and I can't believe we hadn't been interrupted tonight. But
Well, it's just all coincidence.
but it is a Kool-Aid coincidence, and personally, I like strawberry.
I like the grape track.
That's great. Okay, well, yeah. Anyway, there is a Kool-Aid effect to this whole thing.
Yep.
If you don't ascribe to a particular thing, you're going to get fed a certain information. Or if you prescribe to the opposite of that, you're going to get prescribed that information. And I tell you what, I'm going to throw some things out here. Go look at Enemy of the State, 1998. Go look at the movie Echelon. I think it was in 1995. And go look after that about different aspects of the NSA or the CIA observing your reality. Because Echelon was the first one. I think it was in 93 or 94. After that, it became a different thing. But they really didn't come into play. They couldn't initialize it until the terror attacks of 9/11. And they instituted the act that made 9/11 official with the what was it? Damn it! It's a terrorist act, but I can't. Damn it! I'm tired of shit. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? 2001, when the Patriot Act.
We'll pick this back
When
up.
they came in there and they did the Patriot Act, it set the whole thing in motion.
I got you.
And so you had the AI and the whole 9 yards come into play at that time. So take a look at it. I want to get the hell off here. Let you think about it and go.
All right. We'll check it out. And yeah, guys, if you're checking this stream out, appreciate it. And let us know what you guys think about sci-fi and its kind of effect on our culture. And were these guys trying to tell us about a broader agenda, or is it all just a coincidence? So
100% coincidence.
Couldn't be anything but.
It's Kool-Aid coincidence. Oh yeah.
Kool-Aid coincidence, and that's what's going to sign us off. All right, guys, we'll see y'all later.
All right, later.